Child to raise all over again. I'd beat self-esteem first and the house later. I'd finger paint more and point the finger less. I would do less correcting and more connecting. I would take my eyes off my watch and watch with my eyes. I'd take more hikes and fly more kites. I would stop playing serious and seriously play. I would run through more fields and gaze at more stars. I'd do more hugging and less tugging.
My names are Dr. Catherine.
Parenting is probably the most difficult job upon a person. The responsibilities bestowed upon a parent have no right to off days, leave, or resignation, making it a lifetime full-time job. Parenting today has more challenges than ever before. In today's tough economy, parents have been forced to work too much or to pull parenting and shift to save on childcare expenses, leaving less or no time for child-parent bonding. Parents' Day, therefore, is a holiday marked annually on every fourth Sunday of every July and is designed to celebrate, uplift and support the role of parents in the rearing of responsible children. The day also seeks to strengthen the tradition two-parents family. On this day, parents honor their children and encourage families everywhere to invest in their children as the most precious resource, and the outstanding couple in parenting is to be celebrated in society. The modern family style and setup have changed the parenting circle. With the rising cases of split co-parenting and step families, where both parents share responsibilities for raising their children away from each other, this choice mostly turns uglier when such parents fail to agree on many issues such as healthy communication and lack of the ability to compromise and negotiate, and the inability to separate issues with the other parent from issues about caring for the child. Technology too has played enough share in negative parenting to both the parents by contributing to interference in relationships and to children by opening many doors to vast amounts of information on social sites and internet, which, if not well monitored, children may end up accessing unselected material. Innovations in technology can make or break one's parenting. Most forms of entertainment today in media have regulating bodies that decide whether an item is appropriate for certain age groups. But these are only designed to aid parents in exercising their parental responsibilities and not as a replacement. A greater increase in peer pressure and many negative influences from the media make the challenges of being a parent even more difficult. Compounding this with the fact that many parents today are not taught proper discipline techniques, it's obvious why many parents feel frustrated when it comes to dealing with their children. Alice Kutu, a mother of two, is one of the few parents who has chosen to lay her egg when the time came and enroll for parenting lessons for her daughter's sake.
At first, I was really looking for somewhere where I can get skills on how to raise my kids, because the experience that I had with the first one was not very applicable to the second one.
The training, as she says, did not only equip her for raising her young children now, but she is more prepared to handle life stages like adolescent later in life.
At first, she could not allow me to feed her. At all. I couldn't feed her. So she had to be fed. Actually, up to now, but at least she's coping. She had to be fed by the caregiver, the house girl. Then she used to throw a lot of tantrums, and sleeping was also a problem. Yeah, actually she's very aggressive, so getting her to bed was an issue. Feeding her was another issue altogether, and the tantrums that she used to throw. There's a very big difference, because at first I was afraid to discipline her at her age, because I thought I was doing a lot of harm to her. But little did I know that I need to start disciplining her now.
What kind of discipline exactly? Beating?
Not exactly, yeah. But like when she's distracted, when she's throwing tantrums, when she wants to do things her own style, yes, I distract her with something different. And that one really works. Not really necessarily by beating, but by distraction. A distraction that is cool, a distraction that will divert her way of doing things. Yeah. And again, getting to understand her and getting to see where she's going, because by actually letting her understand as a mother what I would want her to do from me at her tender age. In the training, you are taught how to handle kids at different levels, even at adolescent level. You know, there are parents who have adolescent kids, but they don't know how to handle them. And the training really equips you with a lot of ideas on how you can even be able to handle adolescent kids. Though I have not reached there, but when I reach there with information, yes, I already know what to do.
Teenage and student suicide, for instance, has become a prevalent vice in society, and particularly in Kenya, perhaps as a warning and a wake-up call that today's parenting styles are wanting. Early this year, after the release of KCPE results, a few candidates who did not score as they expected resorted into committing suicide in unexplained circumstances. True to the fact that parents today have enough challenges, parents should also strive not to make mistakes that end up spoiling the essence of parenting. Some of the mistakes most parents make are having unrealistic expectations upon their children. A good number of parents force their children to excel in all their activities and overtake the same-aged kids in smartness and intelligence, and when the children do not meet up with the expectations of the parents turn out to be angry and arrogant towards the children. Not being a role model to kids is another mistake, as parents are the first teachers and role models of every child. Children tend to observe the parents and learn from them in everything that they do. Many parents ask the child to follow what they say and not what they do. For example, if parents smoke and ask the child not to smoke, he or she may find it so unrealistic. According to experts, many extremely unhappy situations created by homes and schools are mainly to be blamed for these escalating behaviors of child-parent conflict. Family problems such as alcoholism, unavailable parents, violence, parents' unemployment, marital conflicts, separation and divorce largely contribute to these emerging problems. Generally, there are 4 characters appreciated as ways of good parenting: availability, appreciation, affection, and accepting children as they are. The presence of a parent means a lot to the children, as they need to experience the love, care, and concern of parents by living with them. Appreciation is one of the most effective and boosting agents for kids, especially from parents. Do not only open your eyes to the faults of the children, but be generous enough to appreciate your children even for the little achievements they make. However, it's never too late to correct a mistake, and the earlier you shape your child's life, the better. The first step is to acknowledge that indeed your child has a problem, and especially from a tender age, and seek professional help, which most parents do not do until when the situation gets out of hand. And as Naomi Adult put it, the child is always right. Find out the valid reason for any disturbing behavior so you, as a parent, can respond to her need and eliminate the cause.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Good Morning Kenya, and this morning we were talking to the Egyptian ambassador to Kenya. Now we change focus and we'll be talking to Dr. Catherine Mutesia, who is the director at Nairobi Clinic and also a consulting psychiatrist at Mathare Hospital, and we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, that is parenthood. And on Sunday the 22nd day of July, it is World Parents Day. I know we have so many days, but I think this is one which is quite important, and Daktari will be sharing with us why, and also why it is important to actually take some time to reflect on parenthood, and also for those who are not parents, also to appreciate their parents and the efforts that they have put in place to ensure that they are who they are right now. Karibu sana Daktari to our studios.
Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about parenthood, you know, and even from the feature that we've just watched and the various aspects of parenthood that come into place, and also you tell us what you do at Nairobi Clinic. You know?
Thank you. Yes, basically children are a gift from God, and parenting is a very fulfilling job. Unfortunately, in the past we've not been having a place where you can train a parent and get to know whether your parenting skills and strategies are adequate. So at Nairobi Parenting Clinic, we help train parents on basic skills. on parenting based on a program called Incredible Years, which has been developed at the University of Washington and has been scientifically tested and seen to be working. Yes.
All right. Now, and one would then ask, why should I be taught to be a parent? Isn't this something that, we had very many people say that they're just instinct. Something just happens to you. Do you agree to that school of thought? Or is it something that, you need something more to enable you to be a good parent?
Yes, it's increasingly clear that we are having problems in our society. We are having children who are having disturbed emotions. We are having even children who are going to the extent of committing suicide. We are seeing a lot of violence in the society, and that is a wake-up call that we actually need to evaluate. Is it that there's something we are failing at the family level? Because we know the family is actually the cornerstone of the society. So the fact that all is not well in our society, it's a wake-up call that we need to reevaluate our parenting skills and strategies.
All right, and I don't know whether you'd agree with this, but even in the past we have had, or traditionally, young women would be taken through some training, by either older women, their aunties, on how to be good parents, and I know that is a challenge that we don't have that time anymore.
Yeah, that is quite true. Before there was mentoring from either the mother-in-law, the aunties, the older siblings, the older sisters, the older brothers, but as we become urbanized and as many people go to urban areas, those structures are getting destroyed. And so you have a lonely couple who, first-time parents, for example, they do not know what to do, and they are living quite far from their original families, and so there is a need for these particular couples to be trained on basic skills. Again, it's not necessarily that whatever you observed and whatever you went through as a child was not necessarily the right thing, because basically that is what we normally do. Yes. The way I was parented is likely the way I'm likely to parent my child. It's not always that it was always the best way of parenting.
All right.
Yes.
And I'm so sure someone is watching and wondering, then what is good parenting? What is the measure? Is there a measure to say that this is a good parent, this is not a good parent, this is the way we should parent our children? How would you gauge that?
Okay, we measure the parenting skills strategies by the outcomes. What are you looking for when you're bringing up a child? It is important that this child turns out self-controlled and disciplined, but it's also important that this person develops self-esteem so that when they are teenagehood and adolescent, they don't just move with the peer pressure. They've developed enough self-esteem such that they can stand up and say, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do drugs, because they have had enough self-esteem. In the African society, probably we didn't put a lot of emphasis on developing self-esteem. A lot of emphasis was put on disciplining and making sure the child was self-controlled. And again, we also know that in the African society, again, the child was there to be seen and not to be heard, and to listen and obey all what the parent said. But again, we are dealing with a different generation all through, even in the West. As we grow up, as generation come up, due to technology and due to the changes we have, we are dealing with a different generation. And so we cannot just sit back and continue doing what has always been perpetrated throughout the generations. We need to keep improving, just like the way we are improving in, for example, leadership. Because even a parent is a leader in the home. We know that now people are putting more emphasis on leadership. We are moving from coercive leadership skills towards more democratic negotiating. That is not to mean that a home is a democracy, because if you run a home like a democracy and you ask your children, for example, what time would you like us to sleep, what time should we sleep, they'll probably say after midnight. But again, as a parent, you are an authority, so a home is not going to be a democracy. You must put rules and say sleeping time is at 9 because you need to have enough sleep, you need to wake up early to go to school. Yes.
All right. Yes. Now, and I'm sure with your interaction with different parents and even with just Kenyans and the people that you've interacted with, what are some of the challenges that they bring forth in terms of parenting, and even with the changing times, as you're saying, then the challenges, I'm sure, are even different from what they were in a couple of years back?
Okay, at the moment we are dealing with parents who are working outside the home. Although it is always said that the African woman was never a housewife, because she would go to fetch water, she would go to collect firewood, she would go to the farm. But again, we are seeing women moving, and fathers also moving to the career scene and being very active in their career life. And again, the structures which we had in the past, where you could leave your child with a neighbor or with an auntie as you went to fetch water, they are no longer there. So that is a major challenge. We are having children who are left to TVs, to just be mentored and brought up by the TVs or by the screens, computers, computer games and all that. And so you have as a parent to consciously remember that you need to spend time with your children. Remember, time can be spelled, love is spelled time, T-I-M, that if you love somebody, you must create time for them. You must interact with that child. You have to find time to talk to them, get involved with them, teach them how to solve problems, and they also learn from you through modeling. They observe what you're doing.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm sure there's also the whole challenge also of we're seeing divorce, children going through, parents going through separation. We're having single parenthood, and I'm sure you've encountered all this. I don't know what your take would be on these challenges.
That's a big challenge in Kenya, because unlike the West, where if parents divorced, the children should not be involved in should not be involved in the wrangles between the parents. Now in Kenya, we are having parents who are divorcing, and it's like they put the children in the whole struggle, and the children get to know that they are not consciously, one parent is not good, the other parent will keep criticizing the other parent. Either one parent will neglect the children and say, I don't have anything to do with your other parent, and I'm not going to have anything to do with you, which is quite not right, because if you're a father, you'll always be a father, whether you separated with the mother or not. If you're a mother, we will always be a mother, whether you separate with the father of the children or not. So that is a big challenge, because we have to sit with parents and tell them that these are your children. Even though you are divorced, they continue being your children. You are the father, you are the mother. You have to create time, mentor them, you have to provide for them. So that's a big challenge. And then again, with our structures broken down, you find that if the children get to live with one parent, then they miss out on the experience of living with the other parent.
With both parents.
Yes.
All right. Now, and just looking at our society, and as you said, the moral fabric going down and breaking in terms of some of the things that are happening to our children right now, so that it's the bigger society taking care of the children. We're seeing cases of rape, very young children. We're seeing children on the streets. Apart from just having that, you as the parent of that child, but even us as a society and the things we're doing to children, your take and your comment on that.
Yeah, exactly. The community has broken down the social structures, because before, in the villages, if you found a child of your neighbor or your brother doing something wrong, you'd actually correct them. If you found your child lost, a child of your neighbor or of your sister or your cousin lost in the streets or have no food to feed on, you'd provide for them. But that doesn't happen anymore. You find that if you left your child in your house alone, probably if you left with a maid who leaves before you come, your neighbor will not even bother when they hear your child crying. And so we need to wake up and see, as the society changes, what can we do to keep in touch with the changes?
All right, child-parent relationship, and I'm sure as children also grow in terms of age, there's always that conflict, and that is what we're seeing, child and parent conflict, and then the parents are rarely there, as you said, to even solve this conflicts. What is this doing to the children?
Okay, we are having children who are learning either from peers or learning from televisions or other modes like the internet. And so at Nairobi Parenting Clinic, we emphasize that parents need to actually get to know what to do right. And if you're not at home, you actually can bring your house help or the the caregiver of the child to come for the training, so that you know even when you're not there, the person taking care of the child is going to make sure the child is self-disciplined, and is also not going to destroy the child's self-esteem, because it is popularly said that a child will live up to your expectations. So if you keep telling your child, or if the caregiver keeps telling the child you have to know good, you'll amount to nothing, then that child might live to that expectations. Yes.
All right. Now, and talking about expectations, and you know, even what we saw in that short feature of children committing suicide, and you know, sometimes then the question, and it happened, you know, we saw a lot of it happen, and we're wondering, is it us who are putting too much expectations to these children, and especially in our education system, or what is really happening that we're seeing so many children deciding that, you know, I'd rather die than actually leave?
Actually, there are a lot of stressors today in their life living. We are having children getting a lot of pressure from school. The society is defining success in terms of grades. Yet we know every child is born with a talent. You might not be, your talent might not necessarily be in class, but you might be an athlete, very good in sports, very good in football, very good in art, very good in music. So we are not realizing that there are other gifts apart from the education grades. And again, apart from that, again, parents are continuously competing with their peers. They want their children to be getting the A's, to be going to national schools, and so there's a lot of pressure. Again, in school, you find young children being taken to boarding schools just because the parents want them to perform, to get A's and all that. So there's a lot of pressure from peers, because you will find even if your child is coming from a place where they are supervised, from a home where they are supervised, they'll interact with other children who are never supervised, and then the peer influence is also there. They'll tell you what movies they are watching, they'll tell you what music they are using, and so it becomes peer pressure. Again, there is issue of drugs. A lot of drugs circulating. Cannabis, very common, and we know that even in the hospitals, we know that 70% of the young people who have confusion, which we call psychosis, is caused by cannabis. Research is now showing that use of cannabis can precipitate schizophrenia in a person who doesn't have any genetic predisposition. So there's all sorts of challenges in the lifestyles today.
All right. And talking about drugs, and even for parents to be keen, and I'm sure there are behaviors that they can pick, especially their teenage children, that maybe you'd like to share with us this morning, because I don't think these are things that just happen one morning. It's something that if a parent is keen, will definitely get to notice some of this change in behavior.
Yes, you're right. If you are spending time with your child, you'll definitely observe when their behavior starts to change. Because when a child is using drugs, definitely their behavior will change. Either they neglect their self-hygiene, or either they will be excessively sleepy depending on what they are using, or they'll use these inhibitions. Some will lack motivation to study. Some will oversleep, others will lack sleep depending on what they are using. So basically, if you're spending your time with your child, you'll be able to notice when something is wrong.
Temperamental, violent, you know.
Yeah, some will become violent, they'll become anxious, they will become, they cannot control their temper. So if you're spending time with your child, you'll be able to notice any slight changes and look for help. Yeah, but again, we also teach parents that even as you spend time with your children, you need to discuss some of those scenarios. If you know that there's a lot of banging in the streets, you need to sensitize your children about them. Tell them that banging will destroy your brain. Because what their peers will tell them, they'll tell them, if you smoke this, you will be very courageous, you'll be able to talk to girls, some will even tell you you'll become very good in maths, which is a lie. So you as a parent, you need to tell them the exact truth, so that when they are told by their peers, they already have some information. Because if they are left to the peers, you never know what the peers are going to tell them, and they'll believe that. So even as you talk and interact with your children, you need to discuss some of those scenarios. Do you know the dangers of having sex before marriage? Do you know the dangers of taking alcohol? Do you know that alcohol can destroy your liver and such things? Yes.
Is there a right time to start having these discussions with a child?
Actually, the average child is developing very early. We are seeing adolescents puberty starting as early as 9 years. So the earlier the better, but depending on the age. If a child asks you a question, give information at that age. Don't say, I'll discuss it with you when you're older. Because probably they've had something. Even when you're watching TV and a child asks something, don't just brush it off. Give the information based at their age level. But it's also good to find out what they know. So how did you come to know about this? If, for example, a child is asking about alcohol, how did you learn about it? What do your friends say about it? So that you also gauge and see what information they have. But if you block them, tell them, I'll tell you when you're older, that chance might never be there.
There's someone who's watching this program and wondering, is there a right time to start becoming, is it ever too late to start becoming a good parent? Probably from what we've talked about and the saying, I've not had time with my child, I've exposed my child to some of these things, people drinking while children are there. But is there a way that I can actually try to correct, or once it's done, the damage has been done?
No, it's never too late to improve on your parenting skills. And again, it's also a challenge to the Kenyan fathers that men are becoming increasingly busy and not getting involved in their children's life.
Provided I'm paying your school fees.
They are paying school fees, never attending school meetings, never there to talk to the child, never there to check on the homework of the child. So it's a challenge to the fathers especially to spend more time at home. It is never too late. But again, we also need to remember that the greatest gratification, after you have amassed all this wealth, the greatest satisfaction is to know that you have brought up somebody, you have mentored them, and they are able to touch the society in their own way. They are able to identify their talent. They should not necessarily get S, but let them reach their potential. If they are good at soccer, let them reach their best. If they are good at swimming, let them do their best. If they are musicians, let them do their best.
All right. Yes. And at Nairobi Parenting School, there are questions definitely of the question of how do you make sure that do you follow up on these parents, some of the courses that they have to go through, and we had someone also share their experience there. What really happens there?
Okay, basically when parents come in, some parents are referred because probably a teacher has noticed that there's a problem with the child, either in the behavior. Others have just known about us through our website. But again, we are also going to schools. We've been working with several schools, reaching the parents through schools, because when you tell parents through a school to come for a school meeting, they'll definitely come. But to convince them that they need to be taught on their parenting skills, some of them will believe that parenting is an instinct and they don't need to be taught about that. So at the Nairobi Parenting Clinic, we usually either assess if you have a problem with your child, and then also give you the skills, the skills which have been researched on. For example, I've said that it's very important that you spend time with your child. It's very important that you do fun activities with your child. It's very important that you talk to them and play with them, depending on the age. And then as we move up, we know that it's very important that you reinforce behavior through praising and through rewarding. And you see, in our African society, we are not used to that. We are not, we are not used to praising children when they've done something good. But we know very well now from research that if you praise a child because they've taken a cup to the kitchen, the following day they will do it so that they can be praised. And you'll actually shape that child's behavior without a lot of struggle. Reward also, even small things like a sticker saying, well done. Or even, like in schools, they will even stamp your book, well done, excellent. Such small tips can help shape behavior. For example, a child who has a problem waking up in the morning, if you start even that system of rewarding and putting a star, you'll find them improving very fast. But we also say that parents have to set limits, because we've said that a home is not a democracy. You have to guide your children. So you have to have household rules which are known by everybody, including the house, the caretaker of the child, including any visitors who might be living with you. They should know your household rules. It is very important that they are written down, and they should change as the child grows. So, for example, you should have a rule saying that if you're living near a dangerous road, you should not play in the road. You should have a rule, for example, saying when you get into a car, you should put your seat belt, because these things are important. Have at least five rules which are written and known, and let them change like every year, because the children are growing, and we're having other emerging issues. Again, we say that train your children to lose privileges when they do not obey. Let them know that there's a consequence if I don't obey. For example, if I'm told that even on the holidays, I should only watch TV for 1 hour, and you come and find your children have watched TV for 2 hours, then there should be a consequence that tomorrow you're not watching TV.
You watched your 1 hour.
You watched already, yeah. So there should be consequences, and you follow through. Be consistent, because if a child gets to know that, yes, she'll say, don't do this, and she will not do anything about it, then your power is gone. So you have to make sure that you follow through with the household rules. Again, we know that when children are given routines, like when you're going to sleep, what should you do? Brush your teeth, change into your pajamas, read the Bible or pray, and then get into the bed. It's very easy when they are used to a routine. When I wake up, I dress up, I wash my face, I take breakfast, I go to school. When you have taught them those routines, then it's very easy for them to be able to follow it up. Yes. So basically we teach them, parents, how to build the child's self-esteem, and we also teach them to make their children responsible. We teach them to make sure that the children are obedient, the children can have self-control, and we also teach them how to teach their children to solve problems. For example, using puppets, you can teach your child. I'll give you an example of a child who wants to play with another one, and the other child doesn't want to play the ball. So you'll say, supposing Jane has been keeping the ball for the last 5 minutes and you want to use it, what would you say? Then your child will say, I'll say please. Then you tell them, what else would you say? I could grab the ball. Then you ask the child, if you grab the ball, what will happen? She'll be mad and probably will fight. And what would happen if you fight? So you are teaching them that for every decision you make, there's a consequence. And you're teaching them how eventually they learn to look at the various choices they have and to choose the best.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, and you talked about something to do with rewarding, and as parents, it's very easy to be tempted that we reward with chips, we reward with chocolates, all the things that, and looking at, when we talk Thursdays, mostly we talk about health issues, and we're talking about children and their diet and what they're also used to, as you're talking about consistency, and up to when they're grown-ups, they would know that this is what is good for me and for my health.
Yeah, it's also important that the parents realize that children who are obese, and people who are obese as children, they are likely to be obese even as adults. And it's very important that you teach your children healthy eating habits. So again, it is that when as early as possible you teach them how to brush their teeth, you teach them how to avoid sugary foods, and again, don't sorry?
We reward with
don't reward with sweets and all that. I would be for the idea of either you put stars, and at the end of the month, if you've based on your budget, if you feel that the stars are totaling up to like 500 shillings, then you walk them to a shop of toys, let them buy something for that. Teach them also that they can save their points, and at the end of the year they can even buy something big like a phone. So you should also bear in mind that even the rewards you use, you need to be careful what messages you're sending, because if you're bribing with food, for example, that child might grow knowing that food you can eat as much as you want and it can be used for reward, and that is not good. So it's important that you also reward with things which will not at the end of it affect your child's health.
All right.
Yes.
Now, on Sunday being Parents' Day, it's World Parents' Day, and I said it's an important one, as much as we know we have so many days throughout the year. What also the children, it's a time for both the parents to reflect, but also even children, regardless of your age, if you have your parents, what would you like to say that is what should happen that day?
Many Kenyans are not aware there is a World Parents' Day, which happens on every 4th Sunday of July. And I know we celebrate Mother's Day, we celebrate Father's Day. At least that one people are aware of. But again, this World Parents Day came about in 1994 with the President of America, Bill Clinton then, who signed a resolution into a law that shall be there shall be a Parents' Day, which is celebrated every 4th Sunday of July. And the reason for this was, as much as we are celebrating the mother alone, we are celebrating the father alone, it's very important that the society gets to know that both parents are very important, because a child learns from both parents. So that's why there's a World Parents' Day. And it's very important that as a child, because everybody was born, you appreciate your parents for the efforts they have done. And as a parent also, you think about it and analyze. Have I done the best I could do as a parent? If not, you can still improve. Again, we say there's no perfect parent, there's no perfect child. Don't push yourselves too much. Don't feel guilty. Just continue doing your best. And again, also have faith that your children will turn out well.
And turn out as the effort that you have put in it.
Yes.
And also touching on that, now that you've said that, you know, sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves. And even for others who are seeing you do that, they're telling you it's a wasted effort. You know, even if you put all that effort, you've gone for training at the clinic, and you're told it's baseless effort, because children now spend more time watching TV, as you said, with their peers, with the caretakers. So what you're doing will not bear fruit.
No, I wouldn't say it's a waste of time and resources, because at the clinic we'll teach you how to control those things, because you do not necessarily have to be in the house to make sure that TV is not watched for that long. If you put systems, and you have even the caretaker of your child, it's somebody you have sat with them and taught them that it is important that these children learn to limit the amount of time they are spending on TV, and you actually let them know that it's important to you that they allow your children to obey the rules you're setting. They'll eventually succeed. The parents who go through the program have not, all of them come back and say, it is working, I've seen change, my stress is reduced, because most of them do not know what to do. For example, by teaching a parent to do routines and to set household rules and to make sure that they follow through with whichever command they give, it helps them a lot, and they find that they are able to interact with their children with minimum stress.
All right. Someone is asking then where the clinic is and how can they get in touch or enroll there.
Yeah, we are based at Hapail at a building called KMS Center on Mara Road.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We also have our website, nairobiparentingclinic.co.ke. Yes.
All right. Now, as we come to a close of our interview this morning, I'm sure there's something you'd like to tell the parents out there and even children who are watching this program, and in regard to what is expected on Sunday.
Yeah, to the parents, please create time for your children. Don't be too busy. And when you come home, don't come home and start watching news. Put off all the electronics, talk to your child, find out what they have gone through during the day. Get involved the people taking care of your children, even the people who are living in your house, the visitors, the relatives. Let them get to know that it's important that your children get to obey rules, and let them also know that it is equally important not to destroy your children's self-esteem. So if you spend time and you do the right thing with your children, they'll turn out well. Again, for children, we know that the only commandment in the Bible, which as a promise, is that obey your parents and you will live long enough. So for the children also, they also need to realize that they need to obey their parents. And on Sunday, please appreciate your parent. And as a parent, take time and think about whether you're doing the best as a parent and whether there's something you can do better.
All right. And just a last one as we finish. Is there a time where you stop parenting? Is there a time where you feel that your child now is all grown up and the parenting is over, and now it's for the world to continue with parenting?
Not necessarily. You never stop being a parent. Although from 18 years, you can only give your opinion. and tell them what is good and let them make the choice.
Okay.
But you will never stop being a parent. Again, grandchildren come, they will still need your guidance.
Yes.
Your children who are grown up will keep running. It is said that from 25 years is when people start appreciating their parents. When they are teenage, they think my mom doesn't know anything, my father doesn't know anything, they are old-fashioned. But as they get their own children, as they reach 25, 20 there, they start appreciating and they'll come back, Mom, what do I do? Dad, what do I do? Yeah, so you never stop being a parent. But what you, as the children grow up, you probably change your relationship and it becomes more of a friend you suggest to them, give them the possible, your opinion, the possible, and then you leave them to make the choice.
Thank you very much, Daktari, for coming to our studios, for letting us know that there is World Parents Day. I know many of us did not know, and definitely this Sunday, I'm sure a lot of reflections will be happening in the same regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We have been speaking to Dr. Catherine Mutesia, who is the director at Nairobi Parenting Clinic, and she's also a consulting psychiatrist at Mathare, and she has given us great insight to this day, World Parents Day. It's happening on Sunday, the 22nd day of this month.